Hello, everyone. We are back with Hysterical. I know. It's really soon after, but I really wanted to film the second part of Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Glitter. Part 2, wow, a real quirk. Summary, poor Inko. The next day could be summed up in a list of things broken. 1 bathroom door, 1 blanket, 1 plate, and no less than 12 of Midoriya's bones. Oh, and poor Inko's eyes if the constant tears meant anything. It had started as Midoriya woke up. Rolling over, he yanked his blanket off and watched as it ripped straight down the middle until he was holding a strip of it in his hand. His sleepy brain took a moment to register what had happened. Maybe I should tell Mom. Standing up, he padded down the hallway, calling to his mother. "In the bathroom, Izuku," came the muffled reply. He just stood in front of the bathroom door as he knocked. "Can I come?" His voice cut off as he watched his fist connect with the door, and then continue straight through it until it finally stopped on the other side of the door. A large hole showing his mother as she dropped the mascara wand she had been holding in the sink. "I ripped my blanket, Mom," he said, holding the strip of blanket in his opposite hand. There were splinters from the door all along his arm, blood dripping from it onto the towel Inko had given him. And the entire thing felt weird. Midoriya flexed his fingers experimentally, and the weirdness intensified. For your information, the arm felt strange because it was broken in 6 different places, in 4 different bones, but with a new quirk and all, Midoriya hardly realized there was anything wrong with it. Except for the splinters. There were lots of splinters. Which brings me back to my point. Inko was on the phone with the specialist from the day before, setting up another appointment, as Midoriya sat on the couch looking at his arm. "Yes, okay, we'll be over shortly." Inko hung up and looked at Midoriya. "Oh, sweetie, don't mess with it." Midoriya had taken to absent-mindedly poking at one of the splinters, watching as the wind dripped a little bit more. Put the towel back on, dear," he obliged. "All right, let's go get you ready. We're going to see the doctor again, 'kay?" "I'm hungry." Inko looked at the clock and sighed. "Okay, but you have to hurry, all right?" In a few minutes, she set... I think there's a typo there. In a few minutes, she set a plate in front of Midoriya, who was struggling to hold his chopsticks in his non-dominant hand. Tongue out in concentration, he brought them down to the plate and watched in wonder as they shattered the plate and stuck a centimeter deep... Words, man. I'm gonna redo that whole thing. In a few minutes, she set a plate in front of Midoriya, who was struggling to hold his chopsticks with his non-dominant hand. Tongue out in concentration, he brought them down to the plate and watched in wonder as they shattered the plate and stuck in a centimeter deep in the wood of the table. Letting go of the chopsticks, which stayed firmly upright, Midoriya noted his fingers seemed to be responding strangely, twisting in odd directions. Inko, in a strange sense of calm, simply sat next to him and attempted to feed him herself. But as soon as Midoriya closed his mouth, there was a large cracking sound. Inko inhaled sharply as she realized what the sound must be. "On second thought, maybe we should just go to the doctor's now." The doctor tapped his chin with a pen. "So, from what you've told me, and what I can see for myself," he gestured to the boy in front of him, who was, even after repeatedly chiding from his mother, poking at his obviously broken arm. "I think it's safe to say his quirk completely and utterly shuts off his pain receptors." "But what do we do? I can't have him constantly breaking himself. There must be some healing aspect to his quirk, right?" Inko pleaded. In fact, Inko was quite positive that there had to be. This was why she took Midoriya to the specialist first instead of going to a traditional doctor. That, and the fact that Midoriya didn't seem to be in any pain. "I'm sure there is. And I think I have a good idea of how it works." Inko let out a sigh of relief. "Oh, thank goodness, how do we activate it?" "We make his heart stop!" There were a few seconds of silence before Inko began to sputter. It took several more moments before she was able to calm herself down into a semi-coherent state. Are you saying you want to kill my son?" The doctor laughed. No, I would never do that." Inko breathed deeply in relief. "Without proper precautions." Inko stopped breathing. The doctor walked in a few minutes later with a woman at his shoulder. "This is my friend Arai. Her quirk is revival. She can reconstruct anyone within 30 minutes of death. But if my theory is correct, we shouldn't even need her." Inko made a sound like a chucking duck. Like a chucking duck. Is this really necessary? It's important that we find out the exact parameters of Izuku's quirk so that we can better know how to control it. This is the safest way to do that. Well, I suppose if it's for his own well-being. Brilliant. I'll get started right away. The doctor then pulled out a 3-inch long knife and a grin that really shouldn't be on the face of anyone with a weapon in hand and talking about killing a child. With that thought, Inko once again started to feel faint. That seems rather violent. You said his blood interacted strangely, and I'd like to see it in person, and a gun would make far too much of a mess. This is the best way, believe me. Inko swallowed hard and nodded hesitantly, and then watched in horror as the doctor slit her son's throat. The doctor told her she had regained consciousness shortly after Izuku. He also informed her that the blood had turned gold exactly as she had seen the day prior. That was as far as he got before Midoriya ran up to her and flew into her arms, chatting excitedly. Mom, he cut me with the big knife, and it made my voice sound funny, and then it was dark, and then it wasn't. And look, Mom! He held his arm up, and then pulled his lips apart to show how each wound had healed. See? The blood is gone, and it's not weird, and my teeth feel better, too! That's wonderful, sweetie, Inko exclaimed, feeling a bit overwhelmed. Yep, seems my hypothesis was right. You see, quirks often have two parts to them, the actual quirk and the safety against them. For example, the Pro Hero Endeavor, his actual quirk allows him to produce fire, and the safety keeps him from burning himself. In the case of Izuku, his quirk is what I would like to dub adrenaline rush. In essence, his body is constantly producing a varied form of adrenaline, which does two things. First, it keeps him from feeling any pain, and it also keeps him in a near-constant state of hysterical strength, making it hard for him to use anything less than 100% of his body's strength, even if it causes him harm. Excuse me. The safety measure would, of course, be that incredible healing of his. It seems that the constant healing is only activated once his heart stops and needs his blood to heal itself. After about 5 minutes, he comes back completely healed and fine. Inko just blinked. Sorry for rambling, the doctor said shyly. It's just, this is really interesting. If you're okay with it, I'd love to have a few more appointments with Izuku to run some tests. Free of charge. It would be a pleasure to see such an interesting quirk in action. Inko nodded. Yeah, okay, sure. I'll write everything down. I'll write everything that I found down for you soon. Oh, and before you go, I don't think it would be bad to, help his body meet the healing requirements when he gets injured again. It should work just fine and would keep him from being too uncomfortable. In a daze, Inko just continued to nod. Yeah, I can do that. Just kill him. I mean, he'll come back, so it's not really. She trailed off before snapping back to attention. Oh, well, we'll be on our way then. Of course, feel free to contact me if there are any changes. As they were leaving the room, Inko spotted the coating of gold glitter on the floor and thought about what the doctor had said. Help his body meet the healing requirements when he gets injured again. When, not if, but when. Inko sighed. She was going to be sick of the glitter very soon. And that was Chapter 1, Part 2. Oh god, there's a Part 3 to Chapter 1. I'm not going to film that now. Tell me what you think. Leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Good. I'm a liar. I'm gonna film Chapter 1, Part 3. Here we go. Chapter 1, Glitter. Part 3. Yeah, that didn't happen. Summary? Ah, yes, trauma. You have a quirk? Bakugo looked dubiously at Midoriya, who was jumping up and down from excitement. Yeah, I can be super strong like All Might, and it doesn't hurt if I'm hit or stuff. Inko and Mitsuki watched the exchange with amusement. Inko immediately invited her friend over to talk about the recent development of Midoriya's quirk, and they were now seated around the table with mugs of tea in front of them. Bakugo glared a bit at Midoriya before making his own opinion known. No, you can't. You're just a quirkless Deku. No, I'm not, Kacchan. I got a quirk now, and I can't get hurt. Midoriya stomped as he returned Katsuki's glare. Oh, yeah? Bakugo drew his arm back. Does this hurt? The two adults realized what was going to happen only a moment before it did. That moment was still plenty of time for them to yell and move to intercept the children. Katsuki, you better not! Please don't, Katsuki! Sadly, there was not enough time to reach the two before Bakugo swung his fist at Midoriya's face. Now, an interesting fact about developing quirks is that they are rather unpredictable. So children in certain circumstances, say swinging a fist at their supposed immortal friend, may experience significant changes to their quirk, including but not limited to activating said quirk unintentionally, going past previously thought quirk limits, and an all-around increase of power behind one's quirk. Now, it just so happens that Bakugo experienced all three of these changes at the same time, resulting in a punch that resonated through the room and set the couch on fire, as another effect, blew up Midoriya's head. Upon seeing his now headless friend fall to the ground, Bakugo began to scream shrilly, slowly increasing in volume and pitch for far longer than probably reasonable until he passed out. This reaction is what we call trauma, and it is a common occurrence in children who blow up their friends' heads. An experience that is largely regarded as, well, traumatic. Inko and Mitsuki, for their part, stood in silence for a moment, looking at their two children, one of which... Sorry, this is really funny. One of which was missing a fourth of his body, before remembering that the couch was on fire and promptly attempting to put it out. In a very impressive show of stamina, Bakugo woke up screaming. He did not stop, however, upon seeing Midoriya sitting at the table with a popsicle in his hand, completely fine, although there was a layer of glitter falling off him for some reason. "Can I have one?" he asks rather timidly. Everyone involved in the incident promptly and without discussion agreed to forget about it. And that's chapter 1, part 3. Sorry if I laughed a little bit through this chapter. It's really funny. Thank you for listening. Next time, we're moving on to chapter 2.